Hello everyone. Today I'm going to spend some time talking about the corporate jet proposal that I made for you. So to build up a flight department, there are many aspects that we need to think about. So in order to make it more clear, I divided those parts into five main parts. There are preparation, structure, aircraft model and ownership, cost projection, and the timeline. So I will spend more time talk about those parts later. So here comes the first part, preparation. The most important thing about the flight department is the aircraft itself. So you will really want to make sure that the aircraft has a solid and current standard airworthiness certificate to avoid any further troubles. And also the aircraft is really expensive. So you will definitely want to have a proper aircraft transaction agreement to prove that this transaction is clear and also avoid any further troubles. About the regulatory, the government really have many regulatories and laws to ensure the operation quality and standards. For a small corporate jet, the FAR's Part 91 will be the top concern. Also, there are also some other regulatories about the text. So the aircraft is expensive, so the purchase cost for the aircraft is tax deductible. Besides the aircraft purchase cost, some aircraft operating expenses is also tax deductible. For example, if you use this aircraft for business travel, then the expenses are tax deductible. However, if you only use this aircraft for personal entertainments, then the cost is not deductible. So you need to pay the cost for all the expenses by your own self. And for risk management, well, operating an aircraft also means some potential risk. So you need to follow the regulatories about this risk to ensure the daily operations standards and qualities. Besides, the operational manual would be necessary to guide your operations. And the last thing is the flight records. You will need to record your flights and also submit and reports to report the flight report to FAA about any abnormal that you found in your daily operating and flying. So here comes to the second part. So your flight department would be quite small. It consists of one flight department manager, one director of aviation, one director of maintenance, one chief pilot, one captain or first officer, and one mechanic. The director of aviation reports to flight department manager and he will supervise the chief pilots. The director of aviation mainly focus on the flight department's daily task like the flights and the schedule, and the chief pilots will report to the director of aviation and he will supervise captain and first officer. The chief pilot only mainly focus on ensure the quality of the flight and the daily training. The Director of Maintenance will report to Director of Aviation, and he will supervise the mechanics. The main job for Director of Maintenance is to make sure the maintenance of the aircraft is properly performed, and also guide and train the mechanic. So for the mechanic, they will report to the Director of Maintenance, and the mechanic also need to help the Director of Maintenance to do their daily maintenance work. Captain and the first officer will be the guy actually flies the aircraft. The captain need to report to chief pilot, and the first officer will report to the captain. When there is no flight or out of the flight, then the first officer also need to report to the chief pilot. So here comes the third part, aircraft model and ownership. I've learned that some of your flights are short notice flight. That means you need to fly right now. And some of your flights are well scheduled flights. You got weeks, even months ahead to know that flight will actually happen. Besides, you might also want to use this aircraft for vacation purpose. And one of your investors, he is traveling all over the United States. So here, after taking all of your needs into consideration, here is my recommendation: the Cessna Citation X, and the ownership is owned, so you will need to actually buy this aircraft. This aircraft have 8 seats and the cruise speed is 590 knots. It has over 3,000 miles range. For now, the current market price is around 4.2 million. Besides the Citation X model, I also have 2 alternatives that you could look at. One is the Gulfstream G200, another one is Gulfstream G150. So these 2 aircraft have similar specifications, but there are some small difference between there. The reason that I recommend Citation X is that the Citation X has the fastest speed, so it means you will spend less time traveling and brings your more times out of work, so you could spend that time with your families or take a rest. Also, the price of the aircraft is really depends on the year of the aircraft. I mean, older aircraft have lower price, and the new aircraft will have higher price. So for this thing, you will spend some time doing some research on the market. So here comes the fourth part, cost projection. Based on the recommendation aircraft model, I made a 5-year time period cost projection for you. You could see here, the cost for first year is quite high, that is for 5.7 million. The reason is simple, because you need to purchase the aircraft the first year. So out of those 5.7 million, 4.2 million are the cost for the aircraft purchase. Then you could see the aircraft related cost, that's about the maintenance team, and the employees cost, that's about the salary, and the facilities related cost are about the office, hangars, utilities, and some other cost. So during this 5 years course cost, I also considered the salary increase, the inflations, and some escalation. It could give you a general idea of how much money that it would cost you to operate an aircraft. So here is the cost breakdown or cost analysis for a specific trip. So this specific trip is based on a round trip between your TV stations and your headquarters. So this round trip will actually take 3 days. Each day in the morning, you will fly from your headquarters, and then you fly to Jackson, to Little Rock, to Jubilee, to Lubbock, and New York. So you fly to 1 or 2 destinations per day in the morning and spend some time there, and you could actually fly back when you finish your trip. So in this case, you could save much time and hotel expense, and you could also take a break, like you spend 1 day flight to Jackson and Little Rock, and you take the second day off, and then the third day you continue your trip. So I think this could actually improve your quality of life a lot. And the last part is the timeline and the task. So to get your department fully operational, it will really take some time because you need to rent your office at the airport or near the airport. You need to rent a hangar to accommodate your aircraft, and you need to hire the pilots, the mechanics, and all other aviation manager to manage your aircraft. You also need to spend some time go to the aircraft market to see which aircraft that you really want to buy. Even for the Citation X, there would be different years or different flight times, so you might want to spend some time on that thing. And also even you have your own mechanics, you still need to send your aircraft to some maintenance facilities to let those maintenance company to do big checks for your aircraft. So those maintenance contracts would also take some time. Besides, once you hired your mechanic and pilots, you still need to do some initial training to make sure they are fully qualified to fly your aircraft. And also you also need to call insurance company to get an insurance for your aircraft, and also the certificate for your hangars, for your supporting facilities. All those things could take some time. And the last thing is you need to set up your operation manual and policies. It would take most of the time. It would take them most of the time to set up a detailed operational manual, because there are so many items or checklists to go through when you actually have a flight department. So some of those tasks could be performed at the same time, but some of those tasks could only be done one by one. So in total, I would suggest that it would take about 90 days to finish all those things. And that's it. Any questions?